Good afternoon, Central Catholic. My name is Brandon Haberjack, and I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement and Giving at the school. Wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. Today, we have a discussion with Dr. Ben Stahl, class of 1996. He will be joining us for a discussion on the great work that he and his team are doing on at the Veterans Leadership Program of Western Pennsylvania. Dr. Ben Stahl is currently the CEO there, Pittsburgh native, grew up in Swissville, and is a proud graduate here at Central Catholic. So without further ado, now I'd like to introduce Dr. Ben Stahl. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Awesome. Well, why don't we just jump right into things and get started with our discussion. We know you grew up in Swissville, but we want to get to know you a little bit more. Where did you go to grade school? What led you to us here at Central Catholic? What types of activities were you involved in while you were a student? And then last but not least, once you graduated from Central, what kind of things were you doing after, shortly after graduation?
Yeah, so went to St. Anselm's grade school, eventually turned to Word of God during some of the mergers. And that was kind of the next step. So the majority of the boys from St. Anselm's went to Central, and the majority of the girls went to Oakland. I have a younger sister a year behind me, and she ended up going to Oakland. So we were, went from walking to school together to taking the bus to Oakland together. And at Central, I was a quiet kid, I guess you could say. I wrestled freshman through junior year, and I broke my arm junior year, and I didn't wrestle my senior year, but definitely, I guess it was a different world back then. So there was things to do down in Oakland then, and just being part of the having the ability to walk off campus to get something to eat. It was an experience, but I look back now with a lot of fondness, my time spent at Central.
So, once you finished up at Central, did you take a direct path to the military, or, what happened after you graduated? Did you go to college for a couple of years? And then, second part of that question, how did you find your way to the Navy?
Yeah, so not much, not a direct path, I would say, to the military. Got out of Central. I didn't go directly to college. Got some labor work. And ultimately started going to CCAC, and it really didn't have a clear life path. Had a lot of the things ingrained in me that definitely allowed the guys that I went to school with to succeed, but I needed that extra motivation, that extra boot. I would say a part-time student for a couple years after Central, and then September 11th, 2001 happened, and that was a wake-up call for me, not only, but for I think the others in my generation as well, and that's what ultimately brought me to joining the Navy. I went to the Monroeville Mall recruitment office the day after September 11th, and signed up for the Navy. I had to lose a significant amount of weight to get in there for boot camp, but that was no foreign concept to me. I was used to cutting weight for wrestling, so I was able to, I think I dropped 40, 50 pounds to get into boot camp, and then I shipped out to Great Lakes, Illinois.
Well, thank you for your service. Just my next question as a follow-up is just a little bit about your experience in the Navy. I know you're a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Can you just speak to a little bit about, the types of things that you did during throughout your time and throughout your service?
Yeah, so in the Navy, I was my rate that I went to school for. So in the Army, that's your MOS, or just your technical job. I was an interior communications electrician, and we were essentially responsible for all of the electronic equipment on a ship that you use to communicate externally and internally to the ship. So that would be be inclusive of voice communication, video communication, satellite radars, dead reckoning, where you plot the course of the ship going through the water. So anything in that scope. However, I was stationed on minesweepers, which are a substantially smaller platform, has a crew of around 75. Not an integrated crew, a crew of all men. So that was a real pet peeve of a lot of guys transitioning into the minesweep fleet. And I would tell them I went to an all boys Catholic high school, so this is old school for me. So I was ahead of my peers in that regard. But essentially anything that had electricity on a minesweeper was in my purview. So I picked up a lot of other rates, if you will, and collateral duty of all the electricians on a minesweeper is to be a minesweeping electrician, and that is where we use a myriad of different countermeasures to neutralize maritime mines, and electricity is one of them. So yeah, I did some great sea duty. It's arduous, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I think, John F. Kennedy said, he can't imagine any other job where you can take as much pride as saying that you served in the United States Navy. So I definitely relate to that.
Well, thank you, Ben. Again, thank you for your service and all that you've done for our country. Moving into our next question, currently you're the CEO of the Veterans Leadership Program. How did you find your way to the Veterans Leadership Program? And then, in terms of where you are today as the CEO, how did you navigate to that path? What types of things fell into line for you to be where you are today?
Yeah, so around 2010, I separated from the Navy, and my intent was to come home. I was going to go to school, get my bachelor's degree using my GI Bill, and transition back into the Navy as an officer. But a little bit of life happened while I was out. Me and my wife had our first child, Maggie May, and I couldn't envision myself going back out to sea for an extended period of time and missing all of those significant milestones. So opted to stay out, and I still felt a calling and a connection and a kinship to my brothers and sisters in arms. So I began to become involved in a lot of they call it the veteran space, and initially it was at the Swissville VFW, and I was their service officer. I helped veterans get connected, get from point A to point B with in the path of least resistance. So doing that, and concurrently going to school to get my bachelor's degree at Robert Morris, and I finished Robert Morris, and there was I knew that I wanted to do something with veterans. I didn't know what my options would be, and a position opened up at Veterans Leadership Program that I didn't know what the organization was, and it was for a housing case manager to assist veterans who are struggling with dependency issues into housing, and be a support coordinator for them. So I was relentless and applied, and they filled a position, and then I guess I was so relentless that they actually created a position for me. And once I got my foot in the door, it was really evident to me that my passion for veterans it met my purpose, and I began to really I guess set myself apart from others that were kind of in that same role, just with my interest of not only all things related to veteran services, but also in relation to the administration of an organization. So it wasn't long before I was promoted out of that initial case management role, and began working my way up the ladder, if you will.
So, for those that are not familiar with the Veterans Leadership Program, can you give us a little idea of the history of the program, and a little bit about who you serve and the types of things that you guys do?
Absolutely. So Vietnam Veterans Leadership Program is our predecessor organization. Over time, we've adapted the name to meet the contemporary demographic of veterans. So I believe in 2008, the board of directors removed Vietnam from the name, and in 2019, we removed of Western Pennsylvania. So we kind of whittled that down to indicate that we no longer specifically serve this subpopulation of veterans, and we no longer serve exclusively the geographic territory of Western Pennsylvania. But the Vietnam Veterans Leadership Program, our predecessor, was originally an initiative of the Reagan administration, founded in 1982. And the intent of that was to provide the requisite infrastructure for Vietnam veterans to assist their brothers and sisters back successfully into the workforce, and then as a second order consequence of that, alleviating some of the stressors that they were beginning to experience in relation to veteran homelessness. So that was a big, I'm not saying it's still an issue, but it was a tremendous issue in the early 80s, transitioning into the 90s. So yeah, the Vietnam veterans of our area, Western Pennsylvania, they saw this need, and they threw their name in the ring to bring one of these Vietnam Veterans Leadership Programs to Pittsburgh. And it was originally in the basement of Soldiers and Sailors, and it bounced around. And just given the significant veteran population that we have in Western Pennsylvania, there's a 250,000 veterans in Western Pennsylvania. We don't have an active duty military installation. Pennsylvania is, the fourth highest population of veterans in the country. Allegheny County is the largest county in Pennsylvania. So we have a lot of veterans around here, and you don't really think about that. So, through time, the individuals associated with that project eventually codified and adapted the services that they were providing over time to, continue to be relevant. And, 40 years later, I think we're one of two that are left in existence. There's another Vietnam Veterans Leadership Program still kicking down in Texas.
Okay, great. Well, in terms of, how many veterans do you typically assist on an annual basis? And, in terms of what you do for them, what are some of the, services that you're providing for those veterans that you are assisting?
Yeah, so our mission at VLP is to empower veterans to navigate the transitions of life. And we do that primarily by providing housing, employment, supportive and wellness services to veterans in our service delivery area. And each year we serve upwards of 4,000 veterans, family members, and engage with the supporters of veterans in our various wellness opportunities. So that number has certainly ticked up in 2020, given the prevalence of COVID-19 and the impact on not only the veteran community but the community at large. So we serve veterans from all eras, regardless of your character of discharge. We will meet with you to find the services or benefits or supports that you're going to need to maintain self-sufficiency.
In terms of who's eligible to participate and take advantage of the services, one, how do you go about finding those folks? Do they self-identify? And then what kind of challenges are you seeing? Is there any barriers for veterans stepping forward to take advantage of the services?
Yes, so there's as you can imagine, there's a lot of agencies, organizations, both private organizations, state agencies, federal agencies that have different eligibility criteria for different programming. So a lot of the funding that is specific to our governmental programs has very stringent criteria. So you have to have served for X numbers of days, have a certain character of discharge. Some are require you to meet certain disability conditions. But the majority of veterans that we serve either come in through our coordinated entry system, or we get a referral from the Allegheny County Department of Human Services. We are also the administrator for a veteran coordination network that's specific to Allegheny, Westmoreland, and Butler counties. And that geographic area comprises around 115,000 veterans. So it's a lot of entry points, but you hear in the human service industry, we aim to ensure that there's no wrong door. So if you get connected to something for services, we're going to do a holistic assessment to make sure that we're not putting a Band-Aid on a sucking chest wound. We're going to make sure that you get the support that you need to not only address the issues that are being caused by your problem, but we're going to address that problem as well.
Right. So, you had mentioned COVID, you being a challenge a little bit earlier, given that you're, a nonprofit, like many nonprofits out there right now, without having the ability to, have galas and events, which a lot of the fundraising comes from. Can you speak to kind of how that's impacted your organization and maybe the types of things that you're doing to kind of make up for that and to deal with that challenge? Because I'd have to imagine it's pretty challenging at this point.
Absolutely. So we have had to, just like every other nonprofit, the majority of them cancel all of our, our signature events or gala. We every year we do a big bike ride from Pittsburgh to DC. This year we were going to do DC to Pittsburgh and cross the finish line on the 4th of July and pomp and circumstance, but it's been difficult. However, there have been opportunities for us to go to work to get that funding to make ends meet in terms of the organization's bottom line. So we have actually expanded our staff since March. I think we've put on 12 to 13 positions, and that is due to the increased demand and the increased funding opportunities that have presented themselves specific to veterans and COVID. So, the VA stepped in early and in a big way to provide additional resources for veterans of Western Pennsylvania. And we are, the steward of that program, the Department of Labor. So we're, it's tough, but we're able to power through it.
Right. Now, you'd mentioned a couple of the events that you guys you put on a yearly basis. I know you do the Veterans Breakfast as well. Is there an event that's near and dear to your heart? Do you have one that kind of stands out to you, or something that you've been a part of that really stands out to you? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about that and why it's so special to you?
Yeah, I think we do every year an event called Stand Down Pittsburgh. And that is an event for veterans who are either experiencing homelessness or who are at risk of experiencing homelessness. And it is a day of respite. It's a day that we convene all of the veteran serving organizations, providers, all of the clinics, and everyone at the VA, all in one space. Last year we had it, we blocked off a few blocks of Smallman Street, and we get the help to the veterans where they're at. And a lot of veterans start their road to self-sufficiency at Stand Down. And, it's special, not only because we're serving veterans, and I've seen veterans who have, turned their lives around because they showed up at Stand Down one year, but the Central Catholic Campus Ministry is also volunteers every year at Stand Down. And, that was, when I first reached out to, Kyle Goldcamp at Campus Ministry and, we made that happen. It was really, it gave me pause and said, oh, this has all come full circle. So now, showing the young men of Central, what service is, and, letting them know that, no matter how bad you have it, you are, you're having some degree of privilege, and there's people out there that they're struggling, and they need your help. And for that reason, Stand Down definitely holds a special place in my heart.
Awesome. So you hinted at a couple of the changes that VLP has gone through over the years, and even since March with the increase of staff. Can you talk a little bit about how the VLP has grown and changed over the years, but also what's the vision for the future? Where are you guys headed? Where do you see yourself 5 years, 10 years from now?
Yeah, so I was appointed to my role as CEO in the fourth quarter of 2016. So since then, we've taken a lot of strides, not just to be a good veteran serving organization, taking strides to be a good organization. So in the veteran space, everyone thinks that organizations are all volunteers, and this is my 9-to-5 job, but we have 60 employees, and throughout Pennsylvania, working to provide support for veterans. So, over the past 4 years, we've really focused on increasing the rigidity, I guess, of our infrastructure and doing the fundamental things well. So we were the first veterans organization in Pennsylvania to meet the standards, basics for excellence from the Pennsylvania Association of Nonprofit Organizations. I like to give the comparison of kind of like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. So all of our administration's in order, and that was a major organizational milestone. And in the close of 2019, we received our Joint Commission accreditation for a behavioral health organization. So we hold ourselves to the same standards as the hospitals in Western Pennsylvania. So that you're coming to a transparent, credible, above board organization, and you don't necessarily have to worry about a lot of the things that you think of when you think of or that you might think of when you think of nonprofit organizations. A big thing that we've been trying to do at VLP is be able to provide stable programming to veterans outside of the Pittsburgh metro area. So I'm very happy that 2020 saw us put our first programs in Erie, the Erie VAMC, and the Altoona VAMC. So we've expanded into New York and parts of Ohio. So we're serving veterans now in a tri-state area where in 1982 we were helping a handful of guys in the basement of soldiers and sailors, and it's really been a hockey stick trajectory for the growth of VLP. And in 5 years, well, I should say, I mentioned we were also the administrator of a veterans coordination network. That's been a big wicket for us as well. That is the PA Serves Veterans Coordination Network. It's a program of Syracuse University, and they really run the thought tank, or think tank rather, in regards to veteran services and research. So we're kind of their forward operating base down here in Pittsburgh. So I think that our organization can only go as far as the base is strong. So we continue to grow as needed, and keep administration as minimal as possible, and as effective as possible. And in 5 years, I see us being providing quality services for veterans in a tri-state area, if not a larger swath of the East Coast.
Great. I have seen some of the I think is Pittsburgh Live Today series that you've been on, and I know you've done a lot of great work in kind of streamlining the process and making yourselves organizationally more efficient. So always following you on LinkedIn and see the incredible work that you guys are doing. So we appreciate that. for our alumni that are at home listening today, and for those that are going to watch this later on our YouTube channel, for those that want to get involved, how do they get involved? How do they help the cause? What are the types of things that they can do, to help with this initiative?
Yeah, so in times that aren't COVID times, there's a myriad of opportunities to get involved in terms of volunteering. So we constantly need hands to help do various projects around the office. We have I think we have 80 something rental units throughout Allegheny County that we have veterans residing in that sometimes need home furnishings, small furnishings. They need someone to go in and give a good clean because someone else is moving in. So there's a lot of opportunities there. We also have opportunities for engagement to get out and do a hike through Frick Park with a group of veterans. So there's opportunities for wellness and different opportunities in that regard. Kind of scaled back now just due to precautionary measures for COVID, but there's there's information that you can find at our website, www.veteransleadershipprogram.org. And there's a list, I believe, of volunteer opportunities and things that you can do to get involved. And if you're a Central alum, certainly reach out to me so I can help get you to the right place.
Absolutely. Well, I do think that moving forward in the future, there might be an opportunity for us to hook up as the alumni office to maybe coordinate something or be of some help, of some service. My last and final question for you here is, what role has Central Catholic played in all of this for you? What types of things have you taken away from your experience at Central now that you use in your position, not only when throughout your service as a veteran, but in your current role, what you're doing today?
I think the biggest takeaway that I experienced from my time at Central is that I have a higher standard. That's not a Central Catholic A. That might be an A, but it's not a Central A. So it set in some respects a higher bar for me, not only for my expectations from others, but my expectations from myself. And I know that that those goals and my how I want to how I want things to work out. I know it's possible because I've seen it happen, and that's huge when you're when in times when you're only competing against yourself. That's one of the times where that really illuminates that you have a higher bar coming out of Central. And also I would say a commitment to servant leadership and service to your fellow man. I think it's in the front, one of the side entrances, for God and country. That really resonates with me still to this day, looking up at that, when I walk through every day. And not a day goes by that I don't think of, the impact of Central on my life.
Well, thank you, Ben. Thank you for joining us here today. Thank you for all that you do for veterans in our region. Thank you for your service, and thank you to all of our alumni who've served our country. We really do appreciate it. Wrapping up, it would be, I hope that, moving forward, that you guys will join us for another virtual event. We are going to take a pause on the speaker series for the holidays, but we'll be back in action in February. Our next Alumni Mass of Remembrance will take place on Thursday, December 4th at 5 p.m. Via Zoom. And last but not least, we do have a turkey trot coming up next week. So at any point next week, if you feel up to running a 5K or even walking a 5K, and sending a photo of you doing it, we'd love to see that. We'd love to see that, everybody out there getting active in this time of COVID for the holidays. So once again, thank you, Ben. Thank you, for all of our, alumni out there that have served this country. And hopefully we'll go ahead and see you in the future. Have a great day, everyone. St. John Baptist de La Salle, pray for us. Live Jesus in our hearts forever.